On this episode, we're going to review Day 9, which was the finals of the All Japan Pro Wrestling Champion Carnival 2022. We also got Day 2 of Dream On by Pro Wrestling Noah, with some amazing matches took place, and of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling with Capital Collision in DC, where we have a lot of interesting things that took place, and of course, some news updates regarding WWE's legend Virgil, and of course, now we have indication who will be participating in Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix, and a news update coming from Mai Suruga regarding her show on the 26th of May, which is Apples and Crew. She just announced her opponent. So, let's get ready with another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone. Welcome everybody to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Jay, right here. So, let's begin with All Japan Pro Wrestling with Champion Carnival 2022 on the 4th of May, which is day 9, and I can finally say I'm done with the catch up with All Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm happy. It's done. Veto. Adios. But, however, let's review what took place in this particular event. Opening match, we have Total Eclipse, consistent of Tajiri and Kuma Arashi, taking on Ryo Inoue and Takoa Amori. Now, the funny moment of this one, Tajiri was belly hitting, or trying to give like one of those Buddha's belly rubs onto Arisha. He finds it annoying for some reason. I don't know if he was trying to make a good look out of it. I don't know. I thought it was just too funny. Excuse me. Come on. Come on. Say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Yeah, she's adorable. Look at her. Look at that little cute face. Okay. She's a little fuzzy. Anyway, I don't know what Tajiri was thinking when he was doing that belly rub. I thought it was just too darn funny. But it did bring him up because apparently our Arashi actually do a cross body slam right onto Inoue, who's of course the young boy in the team, allowing them to pick up a really good victory. So I'm going to say maybe that belly rub was such a good luck for him, but I think he found it annoying. Now our next match, we got Black Mansuri teaming up with Azanagi to take on the other members of Total Eclipse. We got Akodo Onori and the psychopath Yusuke Kodama. Now, as you know, Black Total Eclipse has been on the roll many times over, but it was what's his name? Mori who picked up the victory by pinning Black Mansuri big time, trying to keep him away from tagging with Izanagi, and it helped like a charm. So Total Eclipse are 2 for 2. Next up, we got Rising Hayato taking on, of course, the current junior heavyweight champion in a non-title match, Hikaru Sato. Now, this is a very interesting match. You got a guy who's a high flyer. You got a guy who is a great technical wrestler in martial arts. However, the moment that I enjoyed with this guy, with Hikaru Sato, Hayato did a swanton bomb onto him, but Sato grabbed him and put him in a submission right away. That is a killer move. But of course, Hayato had no other choice but to tap out. So he just had no other choice. But however, Hikaru Sato had to deal with Kodama. As you know, Kodama has been targeting him for a shot of the title, but for whatever reason, Hikaru was trying to play mind games or try to stoop up to the same level as Kodama when he attacked him last time. However, Kodama showed up trying to interact with him, but of course Hikaru got scared. But of course there is the possibility we could see those two fight for the title. But the question is, when will that happen? I don't know, but I will keep an eye on that when the time is right. Now we got what used to be a former student versus teacher. We got Ryuki Honda and Yoshitatsu. Now, Honda turned his back on Yoshitatsu to align himself with Total Eclipse, and now he's facing his old mentor, which it will show who surpassed who. So basically, Yoshitatsu's the veteran in this whole thing, was in fact completely lost to Honda. Honda was able to pick up a few new tricks in order to win, and he pinned Yoshitatsu, sending a direct message, I surpassed you. So that's how it was. Next up, we got a trios action. We got Takuya Nomura, Atsuki Aoyagi, and of course the current Triple Crown champion Kento Miyahara to take on the members of Strongheart, Ise Onosaka, Shigehiro Iri, and of course T-Hawk. So this is a pretty interesting match, but however there has been some misfires on the opposing team on team number one, but however it was Shigehiro that picked up the victory onto Atsuki Aoyagi, but however Kento was questioning what's his name, Nomura, that he screwed up. So basically it's still unclear on that, but we know they can team up again in the future. Next up, another trios action. We got Ren Ayabe teaming up with the Twin Towers, consisting of Kohei Sato and Sushi Ishikawa to take on Shotaro Oshimura, Dan Tamura, and Suwama. Now, this was a very interesting match because Team number 2 are the most, physical team ever. However, Suwama accidentally hit Ashino, misfired, but allowed for, of course, Ren Ayabe to pick up a victory onto this team. So I thought it was pretty cool. So basically, Ren Ayabe picked up a very interesting victory. Now our main event is the Champion Carnival final between Yuma Aoyagi and Jake Lee. Now keep in mind, Jake Lee last year was the winner of the Champion Carnival 2021. Now he believes that he could do this. I have to say, what a great match that it showed these two men who are determined to have a shot at the Triple Crown champion. So it was going out of nowhere, but in fact it was Yuma Aoyagi who picked up the victory when he pinned Jake Lee, and it was over. Jake Lee is beside himself that he couldn't believe he lost. He was hoping to be a second time winner, but however that did not last. But however, as soon as Jake Lee left, Yuma actually received a surprise visit from the current champion, Kento Miyahara, who also was his teammate. This is going to be an interesting matchup. I can't wait to see it. So that's pretty much it, what we got with All Japan Pro Wrestling. Like I said, I'm already catched up. Let's move on to Pro Wrestling Noah. Okay, Pro Wrestling Noah with Dream On. This is day 2 that took place on the 5th. Also on record, I finally catched up with Pro Wrestling Noah, so I'm done with it. But let's review what took place on this particular day. Opening match, we have Kinya Okada taking on Slex. Now, they have faced each other before, and they have teamed up before, but how in tag teams. So now this is one-on-one between the two of them. Now Slex, as you know, he is an incredible wrestler coming out of Australia, but he was able to pick up a very strong victory against Okada by putting him in a pinfall, in a power bomb into a pinfall. So, what a match! Next up, we got Hao and Atsushi Kotoge taking on Los Perros de Mar de Japón, consistent of Tejano and Super Crazy. Apparently, we have no sight of the other members. So basically, Eita, what's their name? Eita, Suzuki, and of course they are basically are done. I don't know if they're going to be the only members within that faction in Noah. That is still unclear. But it was a very hard-hitting place, as you know. But it was in fact Tejano Jr. who picked up the victory on Hao, but they decided to continue punishing him by choking him, by hanging him. So, got out of control. Next up, we got Funky Express, Mohamed Yone and King Tani taking on the members of Congo. We got High 69 and Katsuhiko Nakajima. Now, Nakajima is no joke because I've seen this guy, how he is like a beast. Not to mention the way he kicks hard. But he did that by kicking hard in the head of King Tani, and he was out for the count. 1, 2, 3, he was done. But in the post match, he feels like he wants to give up being like the king and move on from Funky Express. So basically, he might want to disband it. So we'll see how that goes. Next up, we got the junior division taking place. We got Alejandro teaming up with Extreme Tiger, Alpha Wolf, and Dragon Bane to take on Kai Fujimura and the members of Stinger, Yuya Suzumu, Seki Ochioka, and Hayata. I have to say, what a great match on this one, because luchadors are exactly what the junior heavyweight division in Noah needs. And I'm a big fan of the Noah juniors because, no disrespect to New Japan, but I find the junior heavyweight division in Noah much more interesting than New Japan. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some great wrestlers in New Japan, but the excitement in Noah, in the Noah juniors, is far more better. So I have to say, but it was Dragon Bane who picked up the victory by, of course, pinning Fujimura, who is, of course, the weakest link of the group. Not to mention he's a young boy, but not affiliated with anybody. Next up, we got Congo members Hajime Ohara, Tadasuke, and Keno to take on a very interesting team up. We got Naomichi Marufuji, my favorite Yohei, and of course, Ninja Mac. So Ninja Mac teams up, and I have to say, this team up is amazing. I did not anticipate a whole lot with this, and not to mention the way they were doing this whole thing with the ninja and doing their thing. Congo find that very insulting of them to do that, since they look at Ninja Mac as like, he's a gaijin, he can't do that. But I have to say, he was very impressive, and I think this match gave him much of the bigger impression that he did in his time with Noah, and it was him who picked up the victory onto Tadasuke, giving him a much stronger vibe from everybody. And not to mention, I did mention this before, this particular night was the night where, of course, Naomichi Marufuji told that they want him to become one of the regulars of Foreign Talents, which is a huge deal. A 1-year contract for that. And I think I said this, he made a good impression in Pro Wrestling Noah. And I can't wait to see him back there in July to see what else he can do. Now, our next match is the powerhouses. We have Manabu Soya from Congo taking on Big Mike, Michael Elgin. What a big powerhouse match. I think it was awesome. Now, I know people can talk about Michael Elgin of the allegations he had 2 years ago, but let's surpass that for the time being. But I have to say, he is still amazing as a powerhouse wrestler, despite the fact of what happened with him in New Japan, but he still continues to show that. He also put Manabu Soya in a powerbomb completely. 1, 2, 3. Goodbye, Manabu. Next up, we got Junta Miyawaki, Daisuke Arada, and of course, Keito Kiyomiya to take on Yoshinari Ogawa, Simon Gotch, and Chris Ridgway. I have to say this was more. Two out of the three members of the second team is all technical wrestling. It was exactly what they are. They used that. It was Simon Gotch who put Junta Miyagi in his submission, forcing him to tap out. But all of a sudden, Ogawa was knocked out by the treacherous of Yoshioka and Suzuki. As you know, now there's an internal civil war within Stinger, but Hayata seems like he was the one stuck in the middle since he doesn't know what to do. So we'll talk more about that in another timing. Next up, we got another powerhouse. We got Yoshiki Inamari taking on Satoshi Kojima. Now, Kojima wanted this match because he's impressed with Inamari. He was exactly what he's looking for. You got a young wrestler who is making a name for himself versus a veteran who's been in the game for far too long. And I think it's a good match. And of course, the infamous lariat is what took Inamari down. I have to say, it was pretty awesome. Now, our main event is an 8-man tag team match. We got the members of Sugiura Gun, Hideki Suzuki, Takeshi Sugiura, El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., and Rene Dupree to take on Daiki Inaba, Masa Kiyomiya, Masato Tanaka, and Go Shiozaki. This was a good match. I loved it, but unfortunately, the way this ended, Kiyomiya picked up the victory for everyone by pinning Rene Dupree. But however, in the post-match, he actually had a surprise visit from his opponent, who later became his tag partner, Michael Elgin. So he issued a challenge to the current GHC Tag Team Champions, Rene Dupree and Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr., for a title shot. So I'm going to assume they accept, but I can't wait to see what that match is going to do. So I think that's pretty much it for Pro Wrestling Noah. Let's move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling Capital Collision. Okay, we have New Japan Pro Wrestling with Capital Collision that took place today. As you know, it opened up with Carl Fredericks taking on fellow Young Lion Ren Narita. It was a good match. I have to say, I'm always impressed by these two guys studying under the guidance of Shibata. But it was the Alpha Wolf who picked up the victory by pinning Ren Narita. However, his little celebration was cut short with the arrival of the factory, once again saying that Shibata does not produce wrestlers. He thinks that he's a real deal. Shibata is full of crap. But he will encounter him in Philadelphia with New Japan. I wish someone just kick QT right in the ass and tell him to stop comparing that they have the better stars. Because sooner or later, all the young lions will show up and bite him. Next up, we got Team Filthy, consistent of Danny Limelight, Jarrell Nelson, Royce Isaacs, JR Kratos, and Tom Lawler, taking on, of course, DKC, Uemura, Finley, Tongaloa, and of course Fred Rosser. Now, Fred Rosser hasn't forgotten what Tom Lawler has been putting him through, completely not trying to humiliate him in New Japan Strong, shaving his head, putting his career on the line. So basically, his main focus was on Rosser. But however, seeing Tongaloa being in this was very refreshing to see. However, he did pretty good. But however, Danny Limelight took out DKC with the pinfall 1, 2, 3. But however, the feud between both Lawler and Rosser is never ending. It will never stop. Next up, we got the Gradocon taking on Chase Owens. Now keep in mind, Gradocon hasn't forgotten about Chase Owens when they stole the IWGP tag team titles from him and Cobb. He thought he could get his revenge, but once again, Chase Owens got away with it by using the ring ropes. The ref did not see it. Basically, the match went into his favor, and of course, Khan chased him, trying to make him pay for what he's done. Next up, we got a very interesting match. Now, I have to say, this is one of my favorite ones. We have Bad Dude Tito, Shane Haste, Mikey Nichols, and Jonah taking on the members of United Empire. Mark Davis, Kyle Fletcher, Aaron Henare, and Jeff Cobb. These guys are about equally matched, especially Cobb and Jonah. Now, they were calling these two guys Kaijus. I'm like, wow, this is a pretty good match. I would love to see these two duke it out one on one. And it's amazing how this really, really turns out great. But it was in fact what's their name? It was team number one, Jonah, Fletcher, Jonah, Tito, Shane, and Mikey that won the match. It was pretty awesome the way it did. I think it showed us, we could see a brand new faction in New Japan Strong, one that feels more right. I can see this picture because, as you know, United Empire feels that they are the true saviors, not to let the LA Dojo cause the problems. But we'll see about that. Next up, we got Brody King taking on the King himself, Minoru Suzuki. Oh man, what a crazy match. Minoru Suzuki, he is always up for a fight. That's who he is, and that's the reason he is. But however, none of us anticipated Brody King picking up a very strong victory on Minoru Suzuki. I have to say, what a match. Next up, we got Eddie Kingston versus Tomoe Ishii. Now, this is a very interesting match because you look at Eddie Kingston. He actually embraced the King's Road, which is All Japan Pro Wrestling style of wrestling that they have. If you guys are not familiarized with that, King's Road is more about telling the story a lot longer in a fight. Strong style is about showing how strong you are, that you can strike and all that stuff, and that kind of fits in. So I was surprised how this one, but it was Ishii with the brain buster that picked up the victory on this one. I loved it. It was pretty amazing. Now, we received a surprise visit from Leo Rush, who was out for a while. As you know, we haven't seen him for quite some time. He was out on injury, but he is telling that he's almost ready to come back. I'm excited to see what he's going to do. It's still unclear what they're planning for him, but can't wait to see that. Our semifinal match. We got Bullet Club, Hikuleo, and Jay White taking on Rocky and Okada. Now keep in mind, Okada has some unfinished business with Jay White. As you know, Jay White declared himself as the next challenger for the IWGP World Title and declaring himself that this is still his era. He runs the show. But, as you know, Rocky Romero fell short in the hands of Jay White with the Blade Runner giving him the much bigger finish. But however, Okada was trying to confront Jay White. He was viciously attacked from behind by Hikuleo. Now, the more they wanted to hurt him, here comes Tanga Loa confronting Hikuleo, his own brother, questioning, why did you betray our family? Why? So basically, this is very hurtful for Tanga Loa. I don't know what Tama would think, but sooner or later, Hikuleo will have his day when he turned his back on his own brothers. Now, our main event is for the IWGP United States Championship. Now, originally, Tanahashi was supposed to face Will Ospreay, but he ended up facing Ishii, and he won. However, Will Ospreay had this thing where he had enough of people complaining, like Moxley wants Tanahashi. There's like a lot of variables. That's what he was looking for. So he made this match possible in order to give what everybody wants. The match was incredible, but however, Will Ospreay almost had things his way until ref didn't see it, Juice Robinson blowed him. So basically, he won, but here is where things were interesting. Will Ospreay's foot was underneath the ring ropes. Ref did not see it. Even United Empire members were telling him his foot was under the rope. And now there's more of the whole controversy, conspiracy theories by Will Ospreay claiming that that's what's been going on. So basically, now he lost a title that he thought he could claim, but he did not. And not to mention, Juice Robinson won a title for the Bullet Club. And he explains that he had enough of the things he used to do in the past, being flamboyant and all that. So basically, he decided to piss everything away and do what he felt is necessary. So now he's embracing the Bullet Club, but we'll see where they're going to go with this. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with news updates. Okay, so here are the news updates. You may have heard Virgil. It's been announced that he is suffering from stage 2 colon cancer. I mean, this is very serious for many people who don't understand that. Me, I don't understand that, but when I hear stage 2, that is like something like, oh, that's maybe not good. However, there have been people that have been posting donation places like PayPal or GoFundMe. I don't know if that's the case. So if that's what you guys want to do, go ahead. So I'm just putting it out there for all of you, but let's pray and have positive vibes for Virgil. He's going to need it. Now, we're not that far off in this summer for the annual 5-star Grand Prix. However, during the recent Stardom event that I haven't witnessed yet, but however, they have announced the participants involved in this year's 5-star Grand Prix. Now let me go by faction name and see who is involved. From stars, we have Mayu Iwatani, Koguma, Azuki, and Hana. Queen's Quest, Azumi, Utami Hayashida, Sai Kamitani. Oeda Tai, Saki Kashima, Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe. DDM, Julia, Maika, Himeka, Natsupoi, and Tekla. Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano, Mina Shirakawa, and Unagi Sayaka. For God's Eye, we have Suri and Mirai. Now here's the interesting twist. We got members from Prominence also involved. That's right, Prominence will be involved too. We have Risa Serra and Zuzu Suzuki. Now that's going to be interesting. So basically, but they're also saying there's 3 more spots available. There's going to be matches involved. The ones who I haven't mentioned, they're the ones who may have a shot to be filled up to 3 spots. So we got to pay attention to that. Now, as you know, Mei Suruga is going to be celebrating her 4th anniversary as a pro wrestler. She set up a show that's going to take place in May 26th in Jujugu Face. Apple and Crew. She already announced for a match taking place, which is going to be Chiko Ishikawa and Aruka Umasaki. However, another match has been announced by her on Twitter. Her opponent, she's going to have an opponent herself. Her opponent is Tokyo Yoshi Pro Wrestling star Suzume. Yes, Suzume is going to be her opponent. I'm kind of curious and excited to see how this match is going to be. Now, it's still unclear if we could be able to see it on YouTube. I'm sure we could, but hopefully that is the case. So I think that's pretty much it, what I got for news updates. So I believe it's time for me to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody's enjoying this episode. Well, I want to give you guys some good news. For the next episode, I will continue more with Choco Pro 228. However, that's not the only thing I will be throwing out. We have day 1 of New Japan Pro Wrestling best of the Super Juniors, and I believe we're starting out with the A block. So I'm excited. I hope everybody is excited. I can't wait to see it and review this for all of you. And if there's anything else I'm going to be reviewing, I'll let you guys know when that day comes. But right now, I believe I'll see you guys in the next DWZ time. Same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.